Welcome. You have once again opened the pages of Codex Xule. So I'm going to finish up my discussion on units that I personally like to take, whether or not the internet or people around me say they're good or bad. Units that I've found work and perform well for me. In part one, I was finishing up on Cultist. I'm a 35-man blob configuration. I'm a big fan of this. It's very hard staying. It's very subtle. It doesn't draw a lot of threat, and it can actually it's pretty good in close combat. And has a lot of staying power. That's just going to sum it up. So the next type that I like to run them is 10-man with auto guns. And I say that because I think it's fun. I think it's fluffy to have this little ragtag crappy squad, which is dirt cheap, that can actually reach out and touch people. Now, I know they're pseudo guardsmen. I know, they're probably going to run away. But I like them. I've actually had some success with them. And this is a prime candidate or prime example of units that people say suck, but I like them, and I'm going to keep using them, Their Overwatch is pretty nasty. They can actually shoot. They're not great, they're subpar, but they're not a unit that can be dismissed by your opponent as shooting, especially with the Terminator Curse. And the Terminator Curse, we all know what it is. I called this, it's the scenario where a Grot kills a Terminator. Setting yourself up for that kind of situation, a Cultist is going to kill a Storm Shield Terminator. Like, it's just going to happen. That's just the irony of the game. That's the Dark Gods jesting. And it's a funny joke, because I don't have Storm Shield Terminators, so they're never mind that are dying. And the last configuration is the 10-man unit with just close combat weapons. I like this one because it's obviously cheaper. It's great for reserves. You just they come in, they can avoid a turn or two of shooting. They can go to ground. They're just a cheap thing. And if you want to whore your book out, they're a good way to fulfill your compulsory troop choice. So obviously it's a good tactic. I'm not a huge fan of allies, unless they're with demons, but I normally run primary CSM. And it's kind of fun, but I always tend to end up with 2 points extra, so I always give the champion a shotgun. And I have some stories about that shotgun on that champion. But next unit, the Hell Brutes. Now I haven't run the Murder Pack or the Mayhem Pack, but I do enjoy running just one with a las cannon missile launcher or just a las cannon fist. Always with a heavy flamer. Always with a heavy flamer if it's on a fist. And for 5 points, it's like, why not? I'm just a big fan of las cannons. I think through the years they've been overlooked, and they're a great unit to surprise, or not a unit, excuse me, a great weapon system to surprise with, because they'll chump your Marines, your Marine characters. They'll chump a lot of vehicles easily. That ap2. I'm just a big fan, and having a twin linked is something that the Chaos Book doesn't have a lot of access to, and it's like 125 points. So it's not a huge investment, and it will draw some fire. And I'm a big fan of I'm a big fan of the concept of cheap vehicles that draw a lot of fire and can live through it. AV-12 is actually more or less substantial. That's a pretty substantial armor. I feel more or less safe. I'm putting my air quotes up, safe, with AV-12 3 hull points in a 4-up cover. Aside from goofy waveforms, don't get me started about those. So I love the Hellbrute. I've been wanting to try it in the 3 Hellbrute formation or the 5 Hellbrute formation, but I only have 2. And but the single unit, or maybe 2 singles, so a pair of them, I've had success with them. I really have. And plus, they're great for like counterattacks. For draw pods, assuming they don't get blown up. They can really chump power armor or anything. Especially since you can't run away from combat now with the one walker we really had in 6. The next one is a Land Raider. And overall, I think a lot of people hate the Chaos Land Raider. I don't. I've always been a fan of the Godhammer pattern. I think it's what the Primarchs intended. I know it is. Yeah. People compare it to the loreless one, the Crusader. It's like, well, we're not that book. Like we're not that book. I don't. Why keeps getting brought up? It's like we're not going to go play. Okay, excuse me. I'm not going to go play Space Marines. This is what I have access to. I love it. I have mine painted up beautifully. I think it's awesome. I'm going to play it. I don't care if there's a on paper better version. I love the Godhammer variant. I love it's a little bit cheaper. And it's needed in our book. We need a lot of our characters at close combat, very close combat, exceptionally close combat, and it's an excellent delivery system, excellent reliable delivery system. And this goes back to my point of people shirking on Land Raiders. Not Land Raiders, excuse me, Las Cannons. I feel like Las Cannons and Land Raiders are two concepts that are kind of falling by the wayside, which gives us opportunity to use them and take people by surprise. Yeah, not like on close combat and melta-guns, there's a lot of way to take one out, but if you're just going to fire strength 8 or even strength 9 weapons at it, I mean, you're going to be having a hard time, especially if it pops up, especially if it gets cover. How many turns is it going to take you? And if it's already there to deliver its payload, you're going to get chumped. Forget about it, Even those goofy wave serpents can't put a dent in it with their goofy little serpent shields, which puts a huge smile on my face. Don't get me started about wave serpents. That puts a huge smile on my face. I just laugh at those things. And, because Land Raiders, they've more or less been dismissed from the meta. You don't see them too much, especially the Godhammer variant, which I'm a huge fan of. I'm a huge fan of the Godhammer variant. I think that's all my list of units that I really, really enjoy using. I guess one more is the Las Predator. I am a fan of that guy because once again, a 4-up save on a vehicle is pretty hard to kill. It's easy for wave serpents. Don't get me started because they can maneuver and get the side armor. But more or less you get 3 las cannons, one's twin length. And you get cover, and you get long range, and it's pretty cheap, And I wouldn't say take like 2 of them. They're not a unit that kind of has a critical mass. I think they're a very special unit, unlike the Vindicator, we want to take 2 or 3, or the Mauler Fiend. Since you're not going to be seeing a lot of Land Raiders, or, you're going to be seeing Knights, but you're not going to be seeing as much armor as you used to back in 5th, I feel like you only really need one. And if you position it correctly, it can get the job done with support from the other elements of your army. Excuse me. I just run it 140 points, twin las and 2 side spawns and las cannons, and I've had success with it. I've had a lot of fun with it. I've taken 2 before and been punished for it. Punished by not having enough anti-infantry. I'm not a fan of really any other variant on it. I'm not a fan of the autocannon turrets. I go straight for the tri-las. I feel like that's what the Primarchs intended, and that's what the pages of Codex Xule recommend also. That'll finish up my review of units that I personally like to use, regardless of ones that stick out. Units I tend to use that stick out that people either have a good opinion or a bad opinion of. You may now close the pages of Codex Xule.